Medieval peasants had zero screens, zero streaming services, zero phones, and they were less bored than you are right now. Not because they had better entertainment, but because they couldn't escape it. Let me explain. Here's the thing we get wrong about medieval boredom. We imagine a peasant sitting in silence, staring at a wall, waiting for something to happen. Nothing to watch, nothing to scroll, just emptiness. But that's not what medieval life looked like. Medieval life was loud. Picture this. You're in a tavern at sunset, 30 people crammed into a room that smells like smoke, sweat, and spilled ale. Someone just bet a week's wages they can outdrink the blacksmith. Two guys in the corner are arguing about who cheated at dice last week. A woman is singing a song everyone knows, and half the room is joining in, badly. A kid is trying to juggle turnips, failing. Nobody cares. This is a Wednesday night. You can't leave without everyone noticing. You can't pull out your phone and check out mentally. You're in it. And if you're not talking, singing, drinking, or watching someone make a fool of themselves, you're the person everyone's staring at asking, "What's wrong with you?" That's the difference. Modern boredom happens when we're overstimulated and then the stimulation stops. We scroll for 3 hours, the dopamine fades, and suddenly everything feels grey. We've trained our brains to expect constant novelty, and when it's not there, we panic. Medieval boredom, that was the 30 seconds between one person finishing a story and someone else starting a song. It didn't last, because you literally couldn't sit there doing nothing. Someone would pull you into a game, a conversation, a bet, a task. Entertainment wasn't something you chose. It was something that happened around you, whether you wanted it or not. You couldn't opt out, and that's why they weren't bored. Not because medieval life was fun, but because it was unavoidable. Let's get specific. What did medieval fun actually look like? Stories, not read from books, told out loud, in taverns, around fires, during breaks from work, the same stories, over and over. But that was the point. Everyone knew the tale of Beowulf or the local legend about the cursed mill. The fun wasn't in the plot twist, it was in how the storyteller told it this time. Did they add a joke? Change a voice? Exaggerate the monster? The story became a performance, and the audience wasn't passive. They interrupted, heckled, cheered, gasped at the right moments even though they knew what was coming. Repetition didn't kill the fun, it was the fun. Music and singing. Nobody was a professional musician in the modern sense. You learned songs by hearing them 50 times. Then you sang along. Then you taught someone else. Instruments showed up when they showed up. A flute, a drum, a lute if you were lucky, and nobody cared if you were good. You weren't performing for an audience, you were the audience. Everyone sang. Everyone danced when there was space. The line between entertainer and entertained didn't exist. Games and drinking, simple contests, dice, arm wrestling, betting on who could balance a cup on their head the longest. Riddles, stupid dares, the kind of games you'd play at a party today if your phone died and you were 3 drinks in. Except this was every night. Drinking wasn't about getting drunk alone in your room. It was social fuel. It made quiet people loud, made games more chaotic, made singing worse but more enthusiastic. Alehouses weren't bars where you sat silently next to strangers. They were stages where everyone performed. The games didn't need rules written down. They evolved through argument. Someone claimed a new rule mid-game, someone else disagreed. Everyone debated for 10 minutes, then kept playing. That was the entertainment. But a medieval fun didn't stay indoors. Physical games were brutal. Football, or mob football as it should be called, was less sport and more ritualized riot. Entire villages played, hundreds of people. The goal was to get a ball from one end of town to the other. There were no teams, no referees, no rules against kicking someone in the shins. People got hurt, often, and they showed up next week to play again. Wrestling matches broke out in fields, at markets, during festivals. Not organized tournaments, just 2 guys deciding to test each other in front of everyone. The winner got bragging rights, the loser got mocked for a month. Archery contests doubled as practice for war and as public competition. Throwing axes, lifting stones, races, anything that let people test their strength or speed in front of others. Why did this work as entertainment? Because it was exhausting. You didn't go home overstimulated and unable to sleep. You went home tired, physically spent. Your body had been used, and that made rest feel earned. Modern fun tends to leave us wired. Medieval fun left people collapsed on benches, sore, out of breath, and satisfied. And then there were festivals, feast days, religious holidays, harvest celebrations, weddings. These weren't one-hour events. They lasted days. A wedding feast could go for 12 hours straight. Eating, drinking, music, dancing, games, speeches, toasts, more eating, more drinking. People would drift in and out, collapse in corners, wake up and rejoin. Religious festivals transformed entire towns. Parades, costumes, mystery plays performed in the streets, bonfires, races, markets, mock battles. And here's the key: you didn't watch festivals, you were in them. Children ran through crowds imitating the performers. Adults placed bets on contests. Everyone danced, even badly. The whole town moved together. Nothing was polished. Nothing was professional. It was chaotic, loud, sweaty, and completely participatory. And because these festivals only happened a few times a year, they mattered. You didn't scroll past them. You didn't skip them because you were tired. Missing a festival meant missing a memory everyone else would talk about for months. Anticipation did half the work, but entertainment wasn't just social chaos. Quieter moments existed too. People carved, whittled wood into game pieces, small figures, tool handles. Not because they needed them, but because it gave the hands something to do while talking. They learned instruments slowly. A melody practiced badly for months until it sounded right. They memorized songs, poems, stories, not to perform, but to have. Knowledge you could pull out when the moment needed it. This was entertainment too. Not distraction, but engagement. The mind and hands working on something tangible. Creation wasn't separate from fun, it was fun. And it filled the gaps between work and sleep without needing to be scheduled. So why did this work? So why didn't medieval people end their days with that hollow, restless feeling we recognize so well? Because effort created meaning. When you participate in fun instead of consuming it, the experience sticks. You remember the night you won the drinking contest, the time you wrestled your cousin and lost, the song you finally learned after hearing it 100 times. Modern entertainment is frictionless. Click, watch, scroll, next. It's easy, but it's also weightless. Nothing stays. Medieval entertainment had weight, not because it was better, but because it required you, your body, your voice, your presence. You couldn't fake it. You couldn't half participate. Everyone knew if you weren't there. Social entertainment reinforced identity. You weren't just having fun, you were proving you belonged, that you could keep up, that you knew the songs, understood the jokes, could handle the games. Boredom wasn't isolation. It was a pause in communal life, and pauses didn't last because someone always started something new. Repetition deepened experience. The same songs every year, the same festivals, the same games. That didn't make them boring. It made them yours. You grew up inside these rhythms. They became part of your identity. Christmas wasn't just a day. It was a structure you lived inside, anticipating for weeks. Modern entertainment resets constantly. New shows, new songs, new content every day. Nothing accumulates. Medieval entertainment layered itself onto your life. It built meaning over years. But here's what we romanticize away. This system was also exhausting. You couldn't opt out. You couldn't say, "I'm not in the mood." You couldn't retreat into privacy and recharge. If you were shy, awkward, or bad at games, too bad. Everyone saw. Everyone remembered. There was no escape from social judgment. No way to be entertained alone. No room for people who didn't fit the mold. Medieval fun worked because it was mandatory. But that same pressure crushed people who didn't want to participate. So no, Medieval life wasn't some perfect paradise of authentic connection. It was loud, demanding, and relentless. But it didn't leave people numb. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Screens didn't give us more entertainment. They gave us permission to watch instead of participate. And we got so good at opting out that we forgot what it feels like to be unable to leave. Medieval people weren't bored because boredom required space, silence, isolation, and they had none of those things. We have all of them. So the next time you're scrolling at midnight, feeling that hollow restlessness creep in, ask yourself, am I bored because there's nothing to do? Or am I bored because I've spent all day watching other people live? Maybe the problem isn't that we don't have enough entertainment. Maybe it's that we've forgotten how to be in it. If you want more deep dives into what medieval life was actually like, not the fantasy version, the real version, subscribe. Next week we're talking about medieval hygiene, and no, they didn't just smell bad and accept it. See you then.